Welcome to Comical Recovery. I am your host with the most trauma, comedian Jessica Byrne, creator of the upcoming cartoon Bud Ease, winner of multiple East Coast comedy contests, and 35 consecutive years of life experience in the School of Hard Knocks. Doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to YouTube, so go ahead and hit that button so you can get all the updates. Hit the like button for recognition. Leave a comment for a shout out. Tell all your friends about your new addiction because sharing is caring. This morning I might be a little off balance, but it's very appropriate for me to go ahead and record this morning because I have PTSD, and that's what this topic is going to be all about. Super relevant for this morning because over the weekend it was triggered all over the place. There is someone coming to my apartment complex, knocking on the door the first day, trying to open it the second day, then knocking, and coming around in 3 different vehicles. So that had me on edge all weekend. And it is the full moon coming up, and I can tell because my neighbors are insane. Maybe yours are too. But it has been a lively bunch this weekend. And then to top it all off, this morning, I got pulled over. Apparently, the police do not need probable cause. At least that's what she said. And I hope you chuckle at that one. Because inside, I finally was chuckling for the first time today about that. That's what she said comment. I know it's silly, but I need a laugh. So the topic today is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And what does that look like? Well, to the untrained eye, a lot of people see it as bipolar or I can't remember the other word for bipolar, but it's like an unstable mood. Either way, the technicalities are not necessarily important, and I'm sure we'll cover this topic again. I hope not because of the same reasons. But if you have post-traumatic stress disorder, it can be from anything. You do not have to be a person that has gone to war. My therapist has actually told me you can get it from car accidents. And that's why I've been labeled with complex, because I have had a lot of traumas in my life. Yes, from a young age, that's what we do around here. Speaking of the young age, I was a child of a domestic violence home. My mother married her first husband, not my father, just for full disclaimer so that I can throw that out there. He's the good man. He's the good guy. But with that, he wasn't able to be around much because the psychopath that we were living with shooed him off many a time. And I can understand why, because he was kind of a violent, scary guy. Not kind of, was. But I regress. That is part of the topic only because when I get pulled over, anytime there's a cop behind me at all whatsoever, I go into a trigger. And what a trigger looks like for me is immediate shaking. Still am shaking, actually, and that happened at 4:20 in the morning, and it's 8:34, so that's a good 4 hours of a cocktail of adrenaline rush, and those are always super fun. When the female officer pulled me over, she did not want to listen that I had complex post-traumatic stress disorder. In fact, she told me that she had it, and she didn't know why I was being so hostile. And quite frankly, shaking and being upset for being pulled over for no reason, I don't think is hostile, but that's neither here nor there. What she decided to do is pull me out of my vehicle, knock my phone out of my hand, which cracked the screen, and put handcuffs on me to, and I quote, calm me down. Which I find quite humorous because I don't see how that's going to calm anybody down, PTSD or not. However, I just shut up and listen at that point because there wasn't really much else I could do with this person on a power trip. And I didn't think about all the things that happened over the weekend that already had me on edge prior to this event happening. But now that I have gone to my AA meeting and talked it out a bit with my recovery people, I realized that I was already probably at an 8 before she threw me into a 15. And they had 5 police officers there for pulling me over for my plates. And when I counted 5 of them, the officer that had just shown up, I said, wow. He said, actually, anything good and exciting? Exciting. They're looking for some excitement. Isn't that nice? I'm sorry, I can't help but get upset because I thought that these people were here to serve and protect, and they're actually just looking for some excitement. Little did I know. I said, yeah, you've got, it takes 5 of you to deal with plates. And he said, no, I just came because I was bored. And I said, I am very aware of that, sir. And at this point, that was my tone. So yes, sarcasm was a very big part of my language this morning. But what PTSD looks like is like a light switch going on and off. There's not really an in-between. You either have the light on or you have the light off. And it's really, really hard to turn the light off after you get triggered. And it was quite comical to me that the female officer said, I have PTSD too. I said, then I don't understand why you don't get my reaction. And then the male officer said to me, well, we're not those people. I said, PTSD doesn't look like that, sir. If I was a person of war, if a car backfired, I would hit the ground. And it's not because of anything more than the sound, and my body reacts. At that point, I believe they started to uncuff me and treat me like a human being, which was really nice of them. I thought that was very kind. But yeah, that just threw my whole day into a tailspin. And part of me was contemplating not posting anything online and talking about this because I just want it to be like rainbows and puppy dogs. And I want everyone to think that life is super great and I handle everything awesome. But I don't. I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And there are lots of moments that I have to figure out ways to calm myself down. And sometimes it doesn't take a quick amount of time. It takes hours. Last night, I got triggered by my neighbor having some extracurricular activities that very much sounded violent. And I woke up out of a dead sleep. I went to bed early because of all the other triggers. So my body was a little worn out. I went to bed about 6:30, 7 o'clock, woke up straight into a trigger at 8:30 and had to watch some TV just to get my mind from replaying whatever was happening next door. And I'm making this to bring some awareness to those of us that struggle with this disorder. It's a trigger. It's like a gun. It's that quick, and it causes as much damage as a bullet would. Sometimes someone can't come down from this trigger for days. And you wonder, who is this other personality that I'm dealing with? You're dealing with someone who's disoriented, who's not in their mind anymore. They're back in their subconscious brain. And they're operating off of whatever they were trained to operate. So, as I said before, I went to an AA meeting this morning. I do it every morning at 6 a.m. I usually go on a beach walk. I didn't get to do that because they had me for an hour. And it was just insane. And I'm so grateful that a friend of mine was there and had her phone on me. She's the girl I walk with every morning. And she was able to come and just sit in the space with me while they were doing whatever shenanigans they felt necessary. And that really was helpful to be grounded, to know that I wasn't alone. and that someone else cared and they were safe. And yes, you will hear in my tone that I'm getting emotional because it's emotional. And that is why I'm bringing this up, because it's an awareness that I feel most of us should have. When we see someone reacting in a way that is out of character or seems a little, the word in the reading this morning for daily reflections was neurotic. And I thought that was a super appropriate word. I don't have my book with me right now, but it's basically like, mental, emotional, physical reactions that are not typical. They're overreactive. They are irrational. That's the word I was looking for. And so when you see somebody acting irrational, I suggest to take a step back and think, maybe this person's being triggered. And usually I take notes, but clearly I have not. I don't have a lot of time on my hands, but I have a lot of information this morning, so I didn't want that to go to waste. And I wanted to explain what triggers look like. Triggers can be something as simple as being pulled over by a police officer, because as soon as they get behind me, I immediately go back into childhood where they weren't helpful. In fact, they did more damage than good. They generally left my mother to get abused even more. And so far in these circumstances, they haven't been helpful. And even when I wasn't doing the right thing, they weren't really helpful. And I'm grateful for that, because, I got away with some things that I probably wouldn't be here to podcast about, because I'd probably be sitting in jail. But man, when it comes to things like this, it's really difficult to go through this experience and even tell your friends that are normal friends what's going on, because I've had so many times people respond with, they're just doing their job. They don't go after you and look for you and yada, yada, yada. Well, hate to say it, but when you have out-of-state plates, you're an easy target. For a lot of different reasons that I don't really want to go into today. But I want to go back to triggers. Triggers can be a smell. The smell doesn't even have to be around. It can be an imagined smell, if you will, because your brain and your body create the memory of the smell. It can be a word. It can be the way someone phrases something. It can even be that it's already happened and the person doesn't know and they're on edge. And you say something that tries to be helpful, and they now have like these earmuffs on that distort what you're actually saying. So when you're dealing with somebody that's hypersensitive, once again, suggestion is take a step back and ask yourself, is this person getting triggered? Is this person acting irrational because there's something else going on? So, like I said, I wanted to create awareness about this. Complex PTSD is a little different than PTSD because it happens with years and years and years of stuff, which means I have all sorts of fun triggers. It can be a smell and a word and the nurturing song that this mother next door plays every single morning. And I have to play something else so that I don't hear it. But right now I hear it, and it's driving me crazy, and it drives me crazy all day because that's all I hear until I put something else in there. So that being said, some helpful things for me when I'm in a trigger is there's a technique called, I believe, DBT. It's some behavioral therapy. I can't think of the first letter. And like I said, I'm going to be a little off today because I like to take notes and write all this stuff out so that I am very clear and precise and do my homework and research and give you guys accurate information. But also, I just kind of want to let you know, like, this is what happens when you get into a trigger. You can't think straight. It's a blessing that I can speak straight. I'm not stuttering or fumbling over my words too much, but a little bit. Your memory goes completely blank. And like I said, you go to your subconscious mind. And before I even drove to the AA room today, I saw the bar that's always open. And because of all the stuff that happened on the weekend, I wanted to drink. And for me, I know that's not a realistic answer, and I'm grateful that I know that. But man, if I didn't want to drink, even worse afterwards. And I might go to a couple meetings today, and that's part of my program. I have to go to any length to keep my sobriety. I have to know who is right to reach out to, and that's probably another thing I'll be doing like crazy today, is talking to people and just going over this story over and over and over again until I vomit it all out of my body, because it's saturated me from head to toe. And that's what happens. You get triggered and you get saturated in adrenaline from head to toe. You disassociate with, which, if you don't know what that word means, it means you can be driving and not know where you're going, and all of a sudden realize that you've drove 10 miles out of the direction that you wanted to be. You're in your body, but your mind is somewhere else completely. Let's see, what else happens in a trigger? So many different things. Sometimes people can have violent outbursts, which I don't consider having a violent outburst, but, I'm sure she wasn't wrong with being hostile, because I always get angry when I'm not doing anything wrong. And there's all this chaos around me that I feel helpless to, and I feel like I'm getting picked on. Now, whether that's real to them, it's real to me. And that's real for any person that's being triggered. Whatever they are physically feeling is real to them, and it is a physical reaction. So DBT, back to that, I'm sorry, like I said, I'm very scattered today. There's one technique that I'm thinking of, and it's the 5 senses. So if I'm looking outside right now, I'm seeing the green leaves outside the window, and I'm go to something that I feel. So I'm feeling the heat of the room and my body temperature because it's elevated from the adrenaline. I taste that my mouth is dry because I am dehydrated. I feel the hair on my shoulder. I feel the stress and tension in my neck, but that all gets me grounded back into my body and into my reality. Last night when I was triggered, I tried to listen to some meditation music, and it was not going to work. It was not going to work. Sometimes things don't work. Sometimes you need to go outside, and sometimes you can't go outside. Because, for instance, the person that's just showing up at my house, now I'm fearful. I get in this triggered state where I'm fearful to leave, and I'm fearful to stay, and I'm fearful to be. And it just sucks. It's a totally crappy place to be. So, comment in the comment box if you have any other suggestions to how you handle triggers. I would love to keep going with this topic, but as I said before, my mind is completely in arms today because I am struggling to be here in this moment, and I'm probably going to call a lot of my friends and reach out. That's always really helpful for me. And I'm going to make this podcast and put it out so that you guys can become aware of what a PTSD trigger looks like and why certain friends and family members might be acting funny or may not want to go outside or may, be doing all these different things. Or maybe you have PTSD and you've never been diagnosed and you're always wondering what the heck is going on and why you feel trapped in your mind. This is why. You may be suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Like I said, it can be anything from a car accident to a violent relationship to a traumatic upbringing. It could literally be anything. So my suggestion to you is do some homework, read up on this diagnosis. especially if you think you're suffering from it. If you know anybody else that has a little kooky behavior, I just want to help people become aware of how this works and what this looks like. And I promise that I will put out a better episode later to formally go through what this looks like and hopefully have some more detailed information for you guys. Remember, recovery comes in layers, and laughter is the best medicine. So laugh at the things that are struggles for you. I have to do it myself. I'm a wellness coach, a yogi, a comedian, and here to tickle your funny bone all the way to recovery. So if you're like old me, don't keep everything inside your head like a destructive, swirling tornado wreaking havoc into your future. Let's vomit it out together into one big, beautiful trauma bond. A relationship of healing and sharing experience, strength, and hope. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you guys bearing with me through this chaotic podcasting day. Please share this through your text messages, your messenger, on your page, all over the place to people that you think are struggling, so that we can come together and find more solutions. Subscribing to the YouTube channel doesn't cost you anything, and it gets you a little dingy ding ding when I post a new one. And please pass me around like your favorite doobie. Remember, laughter's the best medicine and sharing is caring. See you next time on for more comical recovery with your friend and insane seeking sanity host, comedian Jessica Byrne.